All right, happy Halloween for those of you that don't celebrate Halloween, depending on where you live. It's basically when kids and sometimes adults dress up um, in all different kinds of costumes and go around to strangers and neighbors and ask for candy. And then kids come home with lots and lots and lots of candy. So today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about what Halloween used to be like for me for so many years. Hopefully, I was thinking about, as I'm making these videos, hopefully none of these videos have been triggering for people as I talk a lot about my own personal experience with my eating disorder. The reason that I do that is because I remember feeling like even if I did meet someone who was recovered, I thought there's no way that they had this like as bad as me in my mind. There's no way that they had all of these really distorted thoughts around food and exercise, and they must not like have been as bad as I was. And I think that that is a really dangerous way to think in recovery, but also I share my experience so that people know that you really can recover. The purpose of it is to give you hope that you really can change the way that you think about things. So what my Halloweens used to look like, well, first starting out, my kids would have a Halloween parade in the morning. And once I got an email notifying me of the time, I would have severe anxiety for weeks leading up to this parade because I knew that meant that I had to miss a class at the gym that I like to take that day. And it would just cause me anxiety rather than being excited to go to my kids' really cute costume parade at school. I would be stressing over the fact that I was missing a class. So I would go to the parade, but I would kind of feel dread. I wouldn't feel present. I wouldn't feel like I could really enjoy it. And all I'd be thinking about is just being able to get to the gym right after the parade. And I remember when I did exercise on Halloween, it was always extra because I thought, oh my gosh, if I'm gonna have all this candy tonight, then I better definitely work out extra hard. And the funny thing about that is I never ended up eating all the candy. That in my mind I was preparing myself to be allowed to eat. And that's very common with eating disorders. Another thing, I remember I would always be the one to go out and trick or treat up and down the streets because that was involved more walking. So my husband would stay back, pass out candy at the house, and I'd be the one to walk him up and down the streets. I remember my kids when they would like think it's fun to like put a Whopper in my mouth or M&Ms or something. I would like try to be, the happy mom's like, oh, and they put it in my mouth, and I wait until they don't look, and I would spit it out because I was so afraid of eating that candy. It's a little bit hard to talk about because when I think about how every single thought and action was revolved around how I could move more and eat less, it was so hard to be able to enjoy the holiday, any holiday. We'll talk about Thanksgiving as that gets closer, but I'm talking about Halloween today as it's Halloween. Another thing, if I did let myself have any candy, it would, I would have to count however many Skittles I was allowed to have or however many M&Ms or this. It was always like predetermined what I was going to let myself eat rather than just being intuitive and being, in the moment deciding what sounds good and what I want. Now I tend to steal my kids' Halloween candy because they know my favorites are Heath Bar and Kit Kats. And so whenever they get those, especially one of my daughters knows that, and she's always very sweet to give to me. So I'm actually very excited. I always love Halloween now that I'm recovered because it's such a different experience. Another thing, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Oh, the other thing. This was the other thing that I want to talk about. As we were trick-or-treating, it would kind of put, it would mess up my night routine, my nightly eating routine. So we would get back later and I would be stressed out because I was starting my ritual later in the night. But the whole time we were trick-or-treating, I was thinking about, because I was so hungry, thinking about what I was going to be eating when I got home. And then I'd be eating till so late at night on Halloween because we got back late. Anyways, the whole day as you're listening to me explain this, maybe you can resonate with some of these things, but was about the eating disorder. And full recovery is none of that. It's none of that. It's going to the parade and having fun, enjoying it, and taking pictures and videos of your kids and not having a thought about going to the gym. Real recovery is, actually looking forward to your kids getting candy, because that means that you get to steal some of their candy and maybe they'll be nice enough to give some to you. That means probably me staying at home because it's really cold outside and I don't want to go outside and do the up and down trick-or-treating with the kids, so I'll send my husband to do that now. It's just so different and so much more enjoyable, and that goes for everything in life. And so basically the point of this video and me explaining my own experience when I was sick and now being recovered, to give you hope that really it's so worth it. Recovery is so worth it. Staying in quasi-recovery is not the same as being recovered. So if you're feeling like you're stuck there and you're thinking if this is really what is, people talk about being recovered, it's maybe not worth it. That's not true, because you're not fully recovered. But once you experience it, you can understand how different and how much better your life really can be. So hopefully that gives some of you something to think about with holidays coming up, not just Halloween, but with many holidays coming up here in the future. Really start trying to look at how your holidays are with your eating disorder, and what are your goals and what's your vision of what you want your holidays to look like without your eating disorder. And then do those things that get you there. Okay. Happy Halloween.